ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। So, text 4. अनेजद एकम मनसो जवीयो
Jatakam Manasho Javiyo,
नयन देवा अनुप आपनुवन पूर्वम वर्षत
Anadeva Apnuvan Purvam the Arshat,
तद्भावतो अन्यान अत्येति तिष्ठत
तद्
Tathavaton Yan Atyeti Tishtat,
तस्मिन् अपो मातरीश्वा दधाति।
Tasmin
तस्मिन्
Apurma Ishwara.
विश्वा ददाति।
Yes, someone like to read?
Marriage,
Yeah.
Krishna. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. Powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence. Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher cannot know the Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of the wind or the mind for hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. The Brahma Samhita further describes that the absolute personality of Godhead has his transcendental abode, known as Goloka, where he remains and engages in his pastimes. Yet by his inconceivable potencies, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from a fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat for some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere. Although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into three principal categories: internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings to each of these categories. Dominating demigods who are empowered to control and administer such natural phenomena as air, light, and rain are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including humans, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. Material world is the creation of the Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency. Thus, the different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and his energies are non-different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth. Nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is distributed everywhere impersonally or that he loses his personal existence. Men are accustomed to reaching conclusions according to their capacity for understanding. But the Supreme Lord is not subject to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that not even the great rishis and shuras can know him. And what to speak of the Ashuras, for whom there is no question of understanding the ways of the Lord. This fourth mantra of Sri Isopanishad is very, very clearly suggests that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no need to mention so many details in support. Yeah. In support of his personal features. Although the individual parts and parcels of the Lord potencies have all the symptoms of the Lord himself, they have limited spheres of activity and are therefore all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole, therefore they cannot appreciate the Lord's full potency. Under the influence of material nature, foolish and ignorant living beings who are but parts and parcels of the Lord try to conjecture about the Lord's transcendental position. Sri Isopanishad warns of the utility of trying to establish the identity of the Lord through mental speculation. One should try to learn of the transcendence from the Lord himself, the supreme source of the Vedas, for the Lord alone has full knowledge of the transcendence. Every part and parcel of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya, illusion. Thus, from the very beginning, Sri Isopanishad warns us to be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own. Because he is part and parcel of the Lord, he must partake of the initiative of the Lord as well. When a person properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding that everything is the Lord's potency, he can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya, the external energy. All power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. These matters are described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls all those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence. See, the Supreme Lord has three kinds of energies. So, Antaranga Shakti, Baharanga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. Antaranga means internal, Baharanga means external, and Tatastha meaning marginal, that is in between. The internal energy, Antaranga energy, is manifested as his consort, Lakshmi Devi or Radha. So these are internal potencies. The external potency is manifest as Durga Devi or the Prakriti, and the marginal potency is the living entity. So in this way, these energies of the Lord exist. So Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhava mattah sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of all and everything emanates from me. This does not mean that the part is the same as the Supreme. Even though this Tatastha Shakti or the living entities, they exhibit all the characteristics of the Supreme, they are still not on an equal platform. The Jiva, for example, has all the proclivities and all the characteristics of the Supreme, but only to a limited extent, only to a microscopic extent. The Lord is infinite, the living entity is microscopic. So Tatastha and so this is Anu and Vibhu. So therefore, the living entity cannot estimate the true extent of the Lord. So in India, there is a kind of a popular misconception, especially those who follow in the line of Advaita Vedanta, that so there's a popular misconception that the living entity is the one with the Supreme. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Well, that is certainly true that Brahma is Satya and Jagan is Mithya, that Brahma is the reality and this material world is just an illusion. But that does not mean that at the end of this creation, when the universal destruction comes, it doesn't mean that the living entity will become on an equal platform with the Supreme. It won't be. It is always Tatastha Shakti. He is always in its marginal position. He is not going to exceed. He is not going to become one with Supreme. Although he may never return to material existence, he will never be on an equal footing with the Supreme Lord. So therefore, all kinds of mental speculations to understand the Lord are futile, because the Supreme is infinite. The living entity's capacity to imagine is also finite. No one can imagine more than what he knows. So the capacity of Jiva's imagination is also finite. So one cannot think that by mental speculation or by even study of scriptures one will understand the Supreme Lord fully. The Lord can only be understood by his devotional service. As it is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Nava Yauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabh Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Vedeshu Durlabh Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau. So he's impossible to understand by the study of Vedas. Though Vedas give an idea of how to approach the Lord and how to surrender to Him, Vedas do not reveal the full extent of the Lord. Full extent of the Lord is not known to any living entity, actually, within this creation or the spiritual. No one knows the Lord fully because the Lord is infinite and ever expanding. So there is no question of any living entity ever estimating the true extent of the Supreme. The living entity has a Swarupa. He has a particular type of relationship with the Supreme in his liberated stage. So this relationship is in a servitorship mood. Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhet Prakash. This relationship is in service of the Lord and it is limited to an extent. That means the living entity can only understand certain aspects of the Supreme. For example, living entities that are in the Sakhyaras can only understand the Lord in a fraternal relationship. The Gopas of the Lord, they are all in fraternal relationship with the Lord. Uddhav or the Gopas of Vrindavan, they are all in fraternal relationship. They do not understand the Madhurya aspect of the Supreme. The Gopis, on the other hand, are in Madhurya Ras. They understand the maximum extent of the Supreme because Madhurya Ras includes all the other rasas. Or the living entities of Vrindavan, like cows and other animals and plants, they are in Dasya Ras. They are just serving in a more or less passive manner. So that is the only extent to which they can understand the Supreme. The only energy that can understand the Supreme is the Ladini Shakti or the internal potency of the Lord. Only the internal energy of the Lord can understand Him because the Lord chooses to reveal Himself completely. So, so one should never make the mistake of thinking that one can understand the Supreme. So this consciousness of the living entity, this Tatastha Shakti. So Srila Vansidas Babaji, one of the contemporaries of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains that there is a tree. It is sometimes under water, sometimes it's on land. So if you go to, say, swampy areas, you'll see when the tide rolls in, the trees are all in water, and when the tide rolls out, the trees are all in on land. That is the position of the marginal potency of the Lord. Sometimes it is under the influence of the internal potency of the Lord, then it is considered liberated. And yet, other times, this marginal potency is under the influence of the external energy of the Lord. Then it is considered to be an illusion, Maya. So, when the living entity desires to serve the Supreme Lord with pure heart, then he is considered liberated. When this desire is polluted by the desire to satisfy oneself, irrespective of the Lord, that is considered to be illusion. So, Krishnera Bahirmukh hai Bhogvancha kare, Nikatestha Maya Tara Japatiya dhare. So, in this way, the living entity can never really approach the Supreme Lord without the Lord's mercy. Without on his own initiative, he cannot understand. He has to understand the Vedas. Through the Vedas, he has to understand the nature of the absolute truth. And then he approaches a bona fide spiritual master who reveals the true extent of the Supreme Lord. And then, by the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master, the living entity can understand a certain extent of the Supreme Lord. And that is called Siddha Swarupa or Swarupa Siddhi, understanding one's own spiritual identity. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments on this verse?
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, so it's might be an ignorant question, but still I'm not catching fully what exactly it means to be 100% in Krishna consciousness, because now you have just listed many qualities. They could be to relatively extent applied to different souls which are present in this world currently. But then it's very difficult to define that, because, like, for example, how could we know what is the approximate number in the world today of pure Krishna conscious people, like, that 100% purity? is it like the 1 million of devotees of ISKCON all over the world, or is that number is much smaller? Or like, so all sannyasis, for example, they by the Vedic injunctions, they should be the 100% Krishna conscious. But then, as you have mentioned in the previous discussion, that the amount of fall downs is significant. It's large, and the chance of fall down is great. So, do you have any like the numbers of that? Because I'm confused this here.
No, no one has that number. And even if we know, it is of no significance to us. Like it will not matter in our life at all. Like we do not know. Like Srila Prabhupada gives this very nice example. He says, like if you look at a tree, a mango tree, there are yellow mangoes and there are green mangoes. So which mango is actually valuable? Actually, if all the mangoes stay in the tree, then all the green mangoes will eventually become yellow. They'll become ripe and they'll become sweet. But if you pluck them now, they would be very hard and very bitter, like bitter and sour. So even a sadhak, anyone who chants the names of Krishna once, is to be considered a pure devotee because potentially one day he will become. And yet at the same time, we cannot say that anyone is a pure devotee because there are some material desires to be fulfilled. So this kind of a discussion is very difficult to understand. Who is a pure devotee, who is not. And it is not to be taken sentimentally. So as soon as we understand what is the path to be followed, we should just follow it. Like Prabhupada says, in the end, everyone has to fly his own aeroplane. No one can help anybody else. So the living entity has to have his own desire to be liberated from the material nature. Then he'll be liberated. If this desire is missing, even a pure devotee spiritual master cannot help. So, and besides, this is just one planet we are talking about. This universe is full of planets. So we don't really know how many pure souls are in each planet.
Well, by the spiritual rules of aviation, of course, you need spiritual masters to that would allow you to fly that airplane. If you have to fulfill some prescribed duties of Krishna, that you need some sanctions, isn't it?
Yes. So we have Srila Prabhupada here already. We know that he is 100% pure devotee. That we know for sure. Like Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tare Pravartan. What is the symptom of a pure devotee? A symptom, first, the biggest symptom of a pure devotee is that he can make others into devotees. So Srila Prabhupada has made thousands and thousands of devotees in his times and millions of times, millions and millions of devotees even after leaving this world. So that's the symptom of a pure devotee. One who is 100% immersed in Krishna consciousness without personal considerations. So even from an external perspective, we want to understand, we can see that Prabhupada did not spend either time or money for his own convenience. Everything was for Krishna only. Sometimes devotees accuse that Prabhupada was traveling luxuriously. But Prabhupada himself explains that this traveling is very painful. Once, I think it was Shyam Sundar Prabhu who complained that he was having a headache because of turbulence in the flight. So Prabhupada said, yes, when I fly, I'm an old man. When I fly, my ears pain very badly. But that's my duty, so I have to travel by planes. So Prabhupada was suffering while traveling. He did not really enjoy traveling at all. That's why towards the end, after 1974, Srila Prabhupada mainly spent his time in Vrindavan. He didn't even travel too much within India. So, you see, so that's a symptom of a pure devotee, that he could make so many pure devotees. So we have his guidance completely. There's nothing more to be gained, to be honest. Like, I'm just speaking here so that we all can sit together and discuss. But I'm not really needed. If everyone can sit here and read this, you will get the same knowledge that you're getting from me. You will probably gather it better if you study Prabhupada's books very scrutinizingly. So you see, that's the position of a pure devotee spiritual master. So simply by reading his books, everyone is advancing. Everyone is becoming convinced of the need to surrender to Krishna, to accept Krishna as the supreme, to accept him as one's best friend and well-wisher, and to surrender to him. So So we have Srila Prabhupada, nothing else is needed actually. This is enough to take us back to Godhead.
Yes, good to hear that. Of course, that connects to our discussion on the previous lesson. Also, basically, because that standard of purity is quite an important issue. Because as we discussed last time, like I get the understanding or the energy of that unless you are a pure devotee, you shouldn't be acting too much out of fear of fall down and out of fear of repercussions and karma, because we are on a dangerous path, and that fear is immobilizing. That of course you would be then staying by yourself with Krishna and elevating your spiritual knowledge. But if that would be the path that everybody follows, then of course maybe the sannyasis would be coming at the age of 80, that when they are free from any last whims of material desires or any kind of wishes or thoughts which are not pure and completely spiritual. So then of course if that happens, then also the Hare Krishna movement is limited in numbers. So here is that dilemma also a little bit, that of course that movement needs to grow, and it's challenging also, like what kind of standard is there for the masses that should be also receiving that knowledge, and they could be joining that process, same, like, not same, but maybe differently, but still like how Christianity or Islam, they are very powerful religions in a sense that they are affecting minds of a lot of people. They are using, of course, effective tools of propaganda as well as some other platforms that are spreading knowledge. So there is that kind of situation, very competitive, but we shouldn't be in the competition also at the same time.
Yeah, nice understanding. See, if your religion allows for everything to be done, if there are hardly any rules and regulations, that religion will be very popular. It's not just Christianity and Islam. In India, there are so many bogus religions which are growing. At least Christianity and Islam have some scriptural basis. But there are so many bogus religions growing in India. There's a guru in North India, and he's in jail right now because he's involved in murder and and in kind of immoral relationships with women. And this guru is lying in jail, and when he was in jail, he was crying out because he's a sex addict. This is a guru, and he has 20 million followers. 20 million followers who are convinced that he's a genuine guru. And he's a third rate man. You can see his videos on YouTube, and you can see for yourself that he's a cartoon character. Yet another guru is also in
Excuse
jail.
me,
He went to jail maybe 10 years ago. Same
sorry.
charges.
Are you talking about Sadhguru or some other personality? I'm not sure.
No, this is Baba Ram Rahim.
Okay,
Sadhguru
I'll
also has
Google.
around 20, 30 million followers. Baba Ram Rahim. There is, what is that? Asaram Bapu. These are just some people, concocted Vedic versions they'll give. They'll just talk something here and there, little bit from this Puran, that Puran, and then they'll speak some very nice things and people follow them. So because people want cheap religions, so cheap gurus are available everywhere. What we are giving is a very deep philosophy. Therefore, we have many rules and regulations. I mean, if you want to be an astrophysicist, you have to study very deeply. Mathematics, physics, you have to understand advanced mathematical calculations. That's not easy. That's why you'll see there will be 1,000 people graduating in liberal arts, 100 graduating in science, and maybe one graduating in astrophysics because it's a very difficult subject. So, what we are offering is of that level. It's a very deep philosophy. So, we shouldn't even expect too many people coming. If too many people are coming, we should be very concerned whether they are really understanding what they are getting into. So, so don't worry. Srila Prabhupada's guidance is always there. So now regarding the question of how to expand this movement, so that's also very simple. Srila Prabhupada said one thing, that when a disciple acts exactly as per the orders of the bona fide spiritual master, then the disciple is also to be considered a pure devotee. If the disciple does exactly what the spiritual master is ordering, then the disciple should be considered a pure devotee. because he's established on the right path. So for us, how do we preach? So what we do is we refer exactly to Srila Prabhupada's books and we preach accordingly. Because Srila Prabhupada's books are containing references from all the scriptures and other acharyas who are bona fide. So these teachings are bona fide. So, and we can see the results. We are seeing that people are advancing. So that means that what we are preaching is correct. So the point here is like this, that you distribute books and you discuss from books. Then you are also bona fide and you are also on the platform of pure devotion. Because by doing so, your consciousness will become completely purified. Your preaching will remain pure, your habits will become pure, and in the end, you will go back to Godhead.
Sounds good. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right. So we stop here today. If anyone else has any questions, maybe we can ask. You can ask. Otherwise, we stop here today and we'll continue on Friday. Tomorrow we'll have the Hindi Gita session. Okay. So thank you very much,
Prabhu,
everyone.
the timing
Yes.
of Hindi Gita session is the same?
No, it's half an hour before this, Prabhu. I was just going to
So-
message you.
Okay, 9 to 9:30,
6,
right?
9 to 9:30.
Okay, Prabhu, works. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
We're just starting. Okay. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all the devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.